after time, I tell myself that I'm so lucky to be loving you. Hey friends, this is Christopher davis-shannon. The other day I was listening to this live concert by Chet Baker from 1964, and he sang that song Time After Time, which was also on his Chet Baker Sings record, and I was playing along with it. I realized that although I've played the tune so many times, it's a rather simple progression, though what I was actually playing on ukulele had very little relation to the chords that are actually in the song, yet it somehow worked. And that's the thing, sometimes we get really bogged down with thinking about theory and how things work and why things work, and we forget how to just play music, and that a lot of that is really about just creating tension and releasing that tension harmonically. So what we're going to do in this video is go through a little process of building up to using these extended voicings of chords that maybe seem like on paper they don't have much relation to the actual harmony, but they still get our point across. So what we're going to be looking at here are the first 4 measures of Time After Time, which is a basic 1-6-2-5 progression. Now, if you're not familiar with that, I'm going to link to my video here about chord progressions and these basic progressions that you should know. Now, we're going to be doing this in the key of B flat, because that's what I sing it in, so y'all are stuck with me. So the first thing we need to do is just learn that basic harmony. These are the chords. It is 1-6-2-5. So we have B flat, G minor, C minor, and F. And we repeat that again. It's just a 4-measure phrase. We just do 1 strum on each chord. It's a nice little ballad. So let's listen to how that sounds. So it goes like this. Time after time, I tell myself that and that's nice. It lays down the basic harmony, but it's boring and it's ragged and it doesn't make me feel anything. So let's add some spice to it. So the first thing we can do is just stack an extra third on top of these chords. What I just played were triads, or 3-note chords, our most basic form of chords. So we can add an extra third on top of that and make it a 7th. So each of these will have their own 7ths. This B flat will become a B flat major 7th, G minor 7th, C minor 7th, and F 7th. Now as we look through this, we also want to be aware of what the melody's doing, and even if you're just an accompanist that plays chords, it's important to know the melody, because really the melody is all that matters. Our chords, our harmony, are just to support what the melody is doing. And in bar 3 of the melody, if we look at it, the second note here is a G, and in our B flat major chord, we have this A and a B flat, and we'd have that happening if we played a B flat major 7th, so we can't really add that in there. So let's make it a 6th chord. Let's highlight that note and play a B flat 6th the second time that we come around the progression. And we'll see that this is really the same as our G minor 7th chord. We need to pretend we have a bass player here making these changes for us. So as we play the progression with these 7ths in here, we'll have B flat major 7th, to G minor 7th, to C minor 7th, to F 7th. Then we go to B flat 6th, G minor 7th, same thing, C minor 7th, F 7th. So it's just adding in very basic extensions. Let's hear how that sounds with the vocals in here. Time after time, I tell myself that So now we're starting to get somewhere. But I think there's a lot more we can do with this. When we're doing progressions like this on really any instrument, a lot of times we play the basic chords like we do down here. They kind of jump around. So what we need to look at are what are called common tones. What do these chords share with each other? And how can we keep some of that stability so it doesn't sound like we're hopping to a new chord? Maybe we're just changing 1 or 2 new notes, which gives this sense of smooth motion between the chords instead of having this jarring leap. And this is an important concept. So instead of playing our B flat major 7th here, we're going to play it here. It's the same exact notes on high G. ukulele. And all the voicings I'm going to use here are really for high G. The concepts hold true on low G as well, but I would play different voicings on low G because we're working with a lower range of the instrument. So with high G, we're playing the same exact notes, but the way that it lays out on the instrument allows us, when we go to that G minor 7th, to keep 3 common tones between it and just change the one, right? And then we go up to our C minor 7th, and we usually play off 7th as we did before. Well, C's in here, so we can add this 3rd fret of the A string, keeping that same voice in the treble as we have in the C minor 7th chords. Let's listen to just those first 4 chords. So we have B flat major 7th, G minor 7th, C minor 7th, and then F 7th with that C up top. So just a little bit smoother. Now as we look at the next little bit, we play that B flat 6th. We already said G minor 7th is really the same chord. So let's use a different voicing for the G minor 7th so that we're not playing the same chord consecutively. So we can play as 3, 5, 3, 5. So we have... But then we're doing something cool here. We're actually sort of moving up the A string, creating this counter melody within our harmony. So if we play the C minor 7th, I'm going to keep this E flat up here so that motion continues. So I'm going to play 3, 3, 3, 6. And you might say, well, that's just an E flat chord. That's not a C minor. There's no C in there. It doesn't really matter too much. We don't have to play all of the chord tones. We just have to give a general idea of what the chord is doing, and this still encapsulates that. And likewise, a bass player would probably be playing a C underneath you. And then the same thing for the F 7th, we'll keep that E flat as a common tone. So let's listen to the back half of this little progression. B flat 6, G minor 7th. Keeping some of those commonalities between the chords can actually make a big difference. So let's listen to this whole thing now with the vocals in here. Time after time, I tell myself that So we're creating motion in the harmony. Instead of relegating ourselves to just one little place on the fingerboard, we're creating these little counter melodies within the chords, because chords are just groupings of individual notes. They're not some abstract concept of just a bunch of notes. It's really moving lines within that. And we can kind of think of our 4 strings as 4 separate voices in that way that are weaving in and out of each other. Let's take it up another level. So we've added our 7ths and our 6th, our most basic extensions, but we can add more to this because, as I mentioned earlier, when I'm comping, what I'm thinking about are not the chords, but these moving lines and creating tension and then releasing that tension. And a song such as this, it's a very melancholy sort of song, despite being a love song, especially the way Chet Baker sings it. So I feel like it should have a lot of tension. We can create those tensions by adding more extensions to the chord, which really means we can add any note that we want. It doesn't matter too much, but we're going to stick with pretty basic extensions for the moment. We're going to add 9ths and 11ths, which are the same as adding the 2nd note of a chord or the 4th note of a chord. So we're just moving on up a little bit. So I'm going to make this first one, instead of a B flat major 7, I'm going to add a 9th to it. So I'm going to play this. It's a more open sort of sound, but this C, despite this being our tonic chord, this is our happy home bass sort of thing. That C sits between our melody notes, and that's going to sound really tense. Time. And then as we go down, we're going to leave that C there as a common tone and make this a G minor 11th. Now, we're not playing the B flat, so we don't even hear the minor tonality, but that's what it would be here. So we'd have time after time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep the D. We're going to keep that as we go to the C minor chord, giving us a C minor 9. Again, creating these tensions here. We want to get away from that chord. We want it to take us somewhere. And that's the feeling we're trying to elicit here. And And then we're going to use a B flat diminished seventh in here. We're just going to change a little bit. We're going to go 3, 4, 3, 4. Bring us up to a release in there. So these first two measures are now tense because of the chords we're using. So B add 9, B flat add 9, G minor 11, C minor 9, B flat diminished seventh. Again, we're creating that melody moving us up the A string, but keeping some of these common tones down here. But where's this B flat diminished seventh bring us? Now, we said earlier we used a B flat sixth because it complements the melody. It's a good general rule that we don't have to follow, because that's the joy of harmony. I'm going to play a B flat major seventh here, which is going to clash with the melody, so that this B flat does not just sound beautiful, but it's also going to give us a change. So we're going to play B flat major 7 and then to G minor 7 with that secondary voicing we used. We're keeping 3 common tones, just moving one note, which is going to complement the melody. And then coming to a C minor 9, but we're going to leave the D up top. That's our ninth. 3, 3, 3, 5. And then down to F9. We're going to utilize that high G string. And F7th just with a G in there. So let's listen to that second little half of the chord progression and hear these tensions. We have B flat major 7, G minor 7, C minor 9, leaving 3 of those notes in place, and then down to F9. So let's listen to the whole progression, then I'll sing it. I want you to hear these tensions and then how it clashes with the melody. So we're never really truly getting that beautiful resolution to a B flat. We're always just delaying that. Let's listen to it with the vocals. Time after time, I tell myself that it's bringing us somewhere new. So we can start throwing these extensions in, and really, I don't want you to concern yourself with, is this an 11th? Is this a 9th? Just try adding notes to chords and see how it sounds to you. Think about this concept of moving lines, about moving around the fingerboard and not staying stagnant. Because a lot of these things, while we can study theory for years and analyze how these things work and be able to better explain it to other musicians, it doesn't really matter how we get to it. Experimentation and using our ears is one of the most important things we can do. So let's look at this final iteration of it and what happens. So in this last little bit, we're going to leave out a lot of what we think of as normal chord tones, that basic triad that we played in the beginning, our B flat, G minor, C minor, F, where all of this is derived from. We're going to leave out a lot of that harmonic information. But because the melody is really the vehicle that we're working with, we can make this harmony work and still insinuate those basic chords while playing very little of what they actually are. So we're going to mix it up. Instead of starting on that B flat add 9, we're going to add that major 7th in there. I love that major 7th, which is going to give us this voicing, which you've probably played as a D minor 7th before. But it can also be a B flat major 9, even though there's no B flat in it. And then from there, we'll keep that G minor 11. I like that sound. Time after time. We're going to go to our C minor 9 like we did before, but what we're going to do is rely on this open G string for a while and let that carry over. So we'll play this voicing of it, which has no C in it, but it gives us our third, our E flat, our B flat, which is very important because that's our other leading tone. That's our 7th. The 3rd and the 7th tell us a lot. And then with this D up top, which is a 5th away from the G here. So even though we're kind of clashing with the melody a little bit, it gives this really nice open sound. And then we're going to go down and play our F chord. We're going to keep this open G, leave the E flat, just move this B flat down to an A, and keep the D. Call this an F9 at 6. It doesn't matter what we're doing here. It's an F7th. with an added ninth and an added sixth to it. We're not really concerning ourselves with the names of these chords. We're thinking about, well, it's the same idea, because these chords are similar, we're just changing one note. So let's listen to those first two measures of this. So and this is starting to give me that feeling that I want, which is, you know, having some tension in here. This harmony I don't think should sound beautiful right off the bat. I think we should evolve into it. And then from there, I'm going to use that B flat sixth voicing that we used previously as G minor seventh as well. But then instead of really going to a G minor seventh, I'm actually just going to move one note. I'm going to get rid of the G, our tonic, and make it an A flat. You might have played this as a B flat seventh before, and it is. But in this context, it's going to be acting as a type of G minor chord, creating that tension because we're moving in this inner voice. And then we're going to go to the C9 that we played before, but I'm going to put the C in here now because I want to hear this whole step dissonance. And then resolve it down to this, which is changing just one note. So we're going to have 5, 3, 3, 5 down to 2, 3, 3, 5. This is some type of an F chord. You know, again, we're adding a ninth to it and a sixth, just a different way to do it. It doesn't matter what notes we're adding, it's complementing what's going on. So let's listen to how this sounds. Time after time, I tell myself that So most of this doesn't really necessarily complement the original harmony or really even outline most of it. It still works because it's still serving our melody. And that's the key point here, is no matter what chords you're playing in a standard like this, is we're always serving the melody. The chords are just mere suggestions for what we're doing. So pick a tune that you love, and let's try this week to just approach it in a different way, to add some notes to chords that maybe don't make sense on paper, because that's how we get to the real fun stuff. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson. I know it's a lot of information to think about, and it's really more about abstract thought in music and taking a step back away from all the things that we spend so much time learning, and just taking time to focus on music and see what works and experiment. If you've really enjoyed this, please do join me over on Patreon, where I have a PDF of all the chord voicings I've talked about, as well as the second half of the tune as I was playing it in the beginning of the video. We'll also be breaking down more of this harmony in my Office Hours live stream this coming Friday. And as always, this episode has been brought to you by the Tin Man's Magic Ukulele Strings. The strings that I play myself and make right here, and are quality checked by my cat Charlie. I'll see you all next week.